So yesterday, which would be 13 April, Trump was giving his daily brief on the Corona stuff. Showed a video clip, kind of used the press's own words against him, said a few things that pissed off a lot of people. So I got into a few discussions with some people about it, and I just decided I'll give my views on Trump. So most of you that know me or know me in real life, know me from Facebook, etc., know that I was a never Trumper from day one. I'm never going to hide that, and I don't disown it by any stretch. I'm still a never Trumper in a lot of regards, but then there's some things I'm not a never Trumper on now, and I'm going to kind of get into those. One of the biggest reasons why I was a never Trumper from the beginning was that I looked at Trump as a blowhard, blue dog Democrat, Northeastern know-it-all, pompous asshole. It's just my impression of him. It's just the way I looked at him, viewed him, etc. I was actually a big, this is obviously during the 2016 Republican primaries and stuff. I was a Cruz and Rand Paul guy. And full disclosure, I did not vote for Trump. I actually wrote in Rand Paul. I actually lost some friends because of all that. I mean, they were the big Trump train, just beyond the pale to me, people that wouldn't stop and listen to reason. They wouldn't listen to why I'm thinking I thought Trump was bad as a candidate, etc. I just couldn't deal with them, so I lost some friends over the deal, but whatever. Life is life, right? I'm still not a fan of Trump's. One of the biggest reasons why is because his spending is still out of control. We can compare him to Obama, and numbers are numbers. I've said this in all my videos. Numbers don't lie, people do. So, depending upon how you want to do the math, Obama added $8 to $9 trillion to our economy. He effectively doubled our deficit. He came into office with just over 10 trillion. We were 10 trillion in debt. When he left office, we were 19 and change in debt. So he effectively doubled it. You can say it was Bush's fault, whatever. It's just I'm not going to get into that right now, but that is what it is. In the 3.5, almost 4 years that Trump's been president, we've added just shy of 5 trillion to it. So he's actually on pace to add more to our deficit than Obama. That's the numbers. Numbers don't lie. I say all that with the understanding that Congress is equally to blame under both. We cannot spend a dime on anything in this country unless Congress approves, because Congress holds the purse, right? So without congressional consent, budget law, etc., we can't spend a dime. So you can blame presidents as much as you want, but you also have to blame the Congress. And I did under Obama as well. Our Congress is just as guilty as Obama was. Same with our current Congress and under Trump. It's hand in hand. Another thing I'm not a big fan of is we're 3.5 years into his presidency and we're still draining the swamp monsters, right? So do I believe there's a deep state? Yes, absolutely. It's not a deep state like evil Nazi, human sacrificing type people. They're bureaucrats. They think they know better than anybody else. They're not going to let us peasants tell them what to do, even though they're supposed to work for us, etc. So in 3.5 years, he's got a majority of the SCOTUS seats now. The Circuit Court appointees has been astronomical under him. Just look at he's overturned the 99th Circuit Court out of California from being all liberal to now a majority of conservative judges. U.S. attorney appointees he's set record numbers for. But we still don't have people doing the perp walk, if you will. We don't have people that have been arrested that need to be. People like Hillary, Comey, Brennan, a lot of elected officials at all levels of governance, etc. So, okay, what more do we have to wait for? If your appointees are now in those executive branch, judicial branch. So that's law enforcement and judicial. What's the holdup? I got a video coming on Q, which kind of delves into that some more. So I'll touch on that more in that video, but I hope you get the general idea. That all being said, I can give credit where credit is due. One of the things I've grown to like about Trump is what he's done for our economy. Aside from the spending part, but as far as our economy goes, this is all pre-corona stuff. But our job numbers went up, unemployment went down, record level low unemployment across the board. He's brought jobs back to the United States because of his cutting of the bureaucratic red tape, the tax cuts that he did. We now have companies that have come back to the United States that left because of the bureaucratic issues and taxes, but they're not coming back. I love what he did with the trade and tariff deals. For a long time, our tariffs on imports coming from foreign countries sat around 3%. At the same time, our exports are being taxed, or a tariff on the countries we were importing to, of 10, 20, 30, even up to 40%, which is Japan, by the way. So on any items that we exported would get to the foreign country, they would throw their 10, 20, 30, 40% tariff on it, which would effectively price our products out of the market. Nobody's going to buy, that $40 United States hammer when the Taiwanese one only costs $5, right? Well, majority of the biggest reason why was because of the trade deficit or the tariffs. So when he did everything he did with China and a couple other countries, okay, we're just going to match your tariffs. I've been preaching that forever. That's exactly what we need to do. If you're going to charge us a 40% tariff on our goods coming into your country, we're going to charge you a 40% tariff on your goods coming into our country. That's the way I see it. So I like what he did with the tariffs. The bureaucratic red tape, I'll use the EPA as an example. He cut through the crap that Obama put in, dealing with the coal mines and fracking and all that other stuff. Just cut all that crap out. The EPA is an agency that grew so far out of where they should have been and what they should have been doing. It was scary. So he went through, using the EPA example, and cut out a lot of crap from them. You have your environmentalists are going to cry, and whine, and the polar bears are all going to die. Whatever, just save it. But what he's done with the cutting of the bureaucratic red tape, I'm totally behind. I also like what he's done with the press and media. To some, may look childish what he does, but what he's effectually done is exposed the press for what they actually are. The press is supposed to be, the fourth branch of government. They're supposed to be reporting the facts. They're supposed to be doing the whole Joe Friday thing, just the facts, man. So, but what he's exposed is how biased they really are to the general public. Those of us that have known this and seen it, of course we knew. But the more you would tell people, the deeper they'd bury their head in the sand. Well, he's exposed it, done it in a way that's, you could say questionable, and you could disagree with, but he's done it. The press is supposed to be, the Joe Fridays, report the facts. If a media person or journalist, whatever, is going to give their opinion on whatever topic, fine. Label it as an opinion. I'd have no problems with opinion pieces. Sometimes they got some great insight, sometimes they don't. Whatever, right? But when you're giving a news report that's nothing more than an opinion, whether it be the opinion of the individual journalist or the opinion of their network, now we have a problem. All the major networks, all of them have been busted, giving out false information, showing false video clips, having to redact stuff, having to correct stuff because they got busted putting out lies. So the games that he's played with the media has totally exposed them to the general public, which I love. because now people are awakening to, we've been lied to for decades. There's consequences to it, though, because it used to be where if you were in an argument or debate with somebody and you would go to, ABC, here's an article that proves what I'm saying is correct. Well, you're the person you're debating or arguing with will either have to accept it and take the loss, counter with an article from, I don't know, CBS that supports theirs, and then you would have to go, the back and forth. But the bottom line to it was you could rely on that information as being true. Now it's been exposed that it's not. We've been fed lies going back basically as far as there's been networks. So I dig the fact that he does. And it's gone so far with the press that they're putting his addresses to the United States on a delay. They're interrupting mid-speech to fact check. No, that's not your job. Your job is not to tell me what you think he's saying or anything along those lines. I'm going to listen to him. I'm not going to listen to you. I'll make up my own mind. But that's what we're dealing with. But I like the fact that he's done it. It's also forced people to start to have to do their own research, to learn on their own versus just accepting what's being force-fed to them. It's been a great awakening for a lot of people. It's been difficult for a lot, and there's still a lot of people that are still holding on to, well, here's this article so therefore it's correct because that's a reliable source. Well, not really, not anymore. There's no reliable sources anymore. Almost everything is spun, bent, leaning one way or the other. But it's the outcome of this has forced a lot of people to do a lot more research, to go dig, to find the truth. And I thoroughly enjoy that. So there's certain things I do like him. Now, another thing coming up that came out in his speech yesterday, or his address yesterday, was about opening the states. So I look at it, it's a twofold stance, argument, statement. The first one is when you're talking about opening up the states, I'm talking about the economies. So when it comes to the economy, the president is the one who can, and the only one that can, shut down our national economy. He can shut down the border. This is understanding a national emergency type situation, right? He can shut down the border. He can shut down in and outbound flights, inbound from foreign countries, outbound to foreign countries. He's the only one that can shut those down. He can shut down imports and exports, whether it be via freight liners or airplanes. He can shut down our ports, not allow freight liners to come in. He can shut down the importing, exporting of oil, which is obviously the largest business on the planet. And governors cannot override that. So let's just, look at his China ban the ban that he had from inbound flights from China back at January 31st. Governors can't override that. So let's say, as an example, Governor of Ohio wants to allow inbound flights from China. If the president has banned that ain't going to happen. You can't. There's no constitutionality to that. So the governors cannot override on a national level what the president can do with regards to the national economy. And the same thing applies on the inverse, is if the governor of Ohio, I'll just use Michigan because that dumbassery is killing me, but if the governor of Michigan wants to ban the sale of seeds and mulch and American flags within her state, that's her purview to do that. Trump can't come in and mandate that she change that. It's her state. She has sovereignty. It's a sovereign state. She's the elected leader of that state. She has the authority based on the state constitution and the federal constitution to do that. So he can't override within the state. The only time he could do that is if whatever governor is doing, it goes to court, and the court rules that what that governor is doing violates the Constitution or violates individual rights. Then the federal government can step in and override the governor. There's a piece of this dealing with the state legislatures because they can override a governor too, just like the federal government, the federal Congress can override the president. It's the same process. But overall, there's a mutual demarc between what the federal government can and cannot do and what states can and cannot do. When it comes to the other part of this, with regards to the quarantines and social distancing and shelter-in-place stuff that all the governors put in place, there's a little thing called the 10th Amendment. If the governor of Michigan decides that she wants to, or rewind it, let's say the federal government says, okay, no more social distancing guidelines, we're in the clear, we're not going to do this anymore, let's open everything up. If the governor of Michigan decides, no, I'm going to keep my shelter-in-place and quarantine stuff in place, 10th Amendment says they can. And there's not a damn thing the president can do about it. So in that aspect, he's completely wrong. Again, with the caveat being that the courts rule that what the governor is doing is unconstitutional. But without that ruling, there's little to nothing that the federal government can do. They can impose, I'll say, sanctions against the state. They can threaten to withhold federal funds. There's indirect pressure they can put on the governor to repeal, but they cannot mandate the governor to repeal unless the governor decides that they want to repeal. And as far as Michigan goes, all I got to say is your dumbass is voted for. She's your responsibility now. You voted for it. It's yours to deal with. So anyway, all in all, my views on Trump have changed. I still hold him at arm's length like I do any and all politicians. I don't trust government. I don't trust governmental officials. I don't trust politicians at all. So I'm not a cheerleader of his. He's not a golden calf of mine or anything like that. But from my initial view of him, yes, I've changed because of what he's done for the economy. Getting rid of bureaucratic red tape. The pedophile rings. He's busted more pedophiles and pedophile rings than any other person in history. I mean, that's huge. You don't read about that in media because they're biased. They can't give Trump a win. But if you look at numbers, nobody has done what he has done when it comes to pedophiles and pedophile rings. So he's got my vote on that all day long. Now, for you vehement, hardcore Never Trumpers that just can't see anything but hate towards him, who's your guy or lady for president? Who's better equipped to do the job than he is? Why are you not out working in that person's presidential campaign headquarters? Why are you not out stumping for this person? Why are you just sitting at home bitching about what Trump does and how bad he is and all that stuff? If you're going to bitch and whine and moan about a problem, but you cannot and do not offer a solution, then all you're doing is bitch, whining, and moaning. You're just white noise. You're just yap, 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 yap in the background. Without substance to it, you're just bitching. Who's your guy? Biden? You Never Trumpers going to vote for Biden? With all of his baggage? You really think he's the person to lead the economy? He can't hold a coherent thought together for more than 2 seconds before he has a squirrel moment and goes off on something else. He's like a dementia patient when he speaks. He can't speak without a teleprompter and words written in front of him. And anytime he does go off script, he doesn't skip a couple paragraphs. He changes ballparks. You got all the issues with his son. You got all the issues with his brother. You got all the sexual assault accusations leveled against him. There's now somebody's filed criminal charges against him. That who you want to be president? What, Hillary? You want to bring her back? Really? What about Cuomo? You gonna push Cuomo in? The same guy who said they had enough medical equipment, beds, and facilities and money to take care of all the illegal aliens in New York back in January. A month later, he's saying he can't take care of his own citizens because he doesn't have the necessary medical facilities, equipment, beds. That who you want now? The guy who's had ventilators stashed in a warehouse and then lied about it on national television, bashing Trump, saying he didn't have enough stuff when it's the governor's responsibility for that in the first place? You can bitch and whine and moan all you want, but if you don't have any skin in the game, it's a worthless point. Tell me who your guy is or your girl is. We can debate Trump's issues all day long. And for a lot of you hardcore Never Trumpers, there are some things about him that you and I would still agree on. You'd be surprised. But at this moment in time, what he's done for our economy can't be debated. It's a matter of numbers. You may not like the way he delivers and the way he speeches, because he's definitely not as an eloquent speaker as Barack Obama was. That's fine. That's just a personality rub. But if you can't get past that's your problem. That's your own biases. That's your own prejudices or bigotry or whatever word you want to put on that. We can argue his policies. We can debate him all day long. But if you're just going to spew out hate 24/7 and not come with a solution, not come with another candidate that's better, what good are you actually doing? You're just spewing hate. So anyway, I just want to give you my views. Those are my views. I hope you enjoy. Have a good evening.